Yeah, sure. So, one thing to just say is that because the germ theory has been accepted without proof, all of the research into things like the flu are based around the germ theory, stating that it's caused by a virus. And it's really important to point out, because many people may not know this, that all of the tests that they have, right, because there is a flu test that they do use sometimes in the United States only for the purpose of being able to justify a prescription for an antiviral drug. And they have tests for many other viruses, but not one of these tests measures a virus directly. They all measure other markers that have not really been compared to measuring the virus. So many of the tests are antibody tests. So they're very inaccurate and really don't mean anything. So beware, and I thought this was awfully weird when I was in medical school, because, if there was a bacterial problem, you could get a sample and do a bacterial culture and then identify the exact species of bacteria that's present. And while that may not show that it causes the disease, at least it matches a bacteria to a disease. So you could see maybe that's the right kind of bacteria to clean up that particular problem. But with virus tests, I remember the first time, we should get a virus culture, right? So we can actually show that the virus is present there. But there is no such test. And I was just told that, it's too difficult to perform. And that was the reason why it's not used that way. So it's really quite interesting. So what the real cause of the influenza, you will not be able to find research articles describing an experiment to prove this, because no effort has been paid to this kind of research. But you can look in traditional medicine systems, like in Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic medicine or others, and can find various explanations for things like this. And interestingly, in traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine, which is Indian, they had no theory about contagion. Like, they didn't believe that people pass illnesses back and forth between each other. And, we've grown up with germ theory and we've grown up with that belief. But it's interesting that other cultures who have observed the same phenomena of, sometimes people getting sick at the same time, but have a different explanation. So what I think the flu and colds are is basically part of an annual renewal cycle. That most systems in our bodies work on a cyclical basis, right? Like, we're familiar with night and day cycles. And it's even been shown that our individual organs have their own kind of clock mechanism where they can define cycles. And we have seasonal cycles, right? And we see this in all kinds of organisms, right? Especially in the plant world, that the physiology and it changes over the seasons. So we breathe through our upper airway, our nose, mouth, throat, and lungs all year long. And in the air we breathe, there are all types of particles and pollutants that get into our system. And many of these are actually manufactured by us and didn't exist in the natural world in the past. And I think that's why we probably have more of these illnesses today than we may have had 500 years ago. But since all of these particulates and contaminants from air pollution and other sources are basically go through this whole airway system, and we have all these things to filter them out, like there's little hairs inside of our nose, there's like waves of bone that increase the surface area. And the purpose is to clean all these things out of the air before it gets into your lungs, so you can have good gas exchange and these things don't enter the inside of your body. But over the course of a year, there's damage to these tissues as a result of this process of filtering. And just think about, other types of filters that we have to change the filter, over a period of time because it reaches its capacity. So essentially what we're having is a filter change in our upper airway. And so the tissue starts to slough off, and that generates a response from our immune system, and it calls on the bacteria to come and clean up the tissues and do their recycling. And that's when we experience the symptoms, because that causes inflammation so that there could be more blood flow to the area to clear away the debris. And it causes secretions, which clear those toxins and debris out of our body. And essentially that's what a flu is. And it happens on a seasonal basis because we have seasonal cycles, and maybe it makes sense for it to occur in the fall and winter. And I think the reason why sometimes people might get it at the same time is basically because when you're around someone and you experience their experience, then it might cause your body to start that program of annual renewal. And then you'll go through that process. And once that process goes to completion, essentially all of the tissues inside your upper airway have now been renewed and replaced and are ready to keep doing their job.